Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Under Construction. This is episode number 88, and I'm your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Train Man or the Admiral. I was looking at this right before we started, and I realized one thing that would help with this back area immensely, and that's a blacktop. So I need to get some dark asphalt and fill in the area real quick. In fact, I think we'll go over to the warehouse district and grab some of the stuff that we were using for those things there with Madison. Speaking of which, I'm not sure when she's going to return to the show. There have been a couple of opportunities for her to do so, but none of those gave me enough time to actually make the show. It was just she was around. Naturally, because we lived together, she's around quite a bit now. But it's still difficult to get us both here at the same time for more than, well, at least a couple of hours. I know the show takes a couple of hours. But when you live in a house on your own, or, with one other person, you have to then split the responsibilities of not only tending to the house, as you might expect, but things like cooking, these things that you kind of forget when your parents do it for you. Or when you have, at the very least, the funds to order stuff all the time. When you are in college even, it can be very easy to go, but I have the money for this, especially if you're working a job in college, even if it's a weekend job. But also colleges a lot of the time have dining halls, and sometimes they're pretty good. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What I'm trying to say is, this is the first time I've really had to contend with the fact that, I've got to make food. We have to make food. We have to keep track of the food that we have made. We have to we have to go to the market and purchase things to make. Or at least, things to make. Like, just some pasta or some spices if you're making a meal or, that sort of thing. It becomes, I wouldn't say complicated, but it certainly is a lot that you now have to consider when you own a house. Which, as of today, I do in fact own this house. I completed the closing today, but we've been moved in for a little while, but that's what makes it official. You sign the paperwork, and the house is yours. Although it won't go through the system until Monday, it is still a massive step in that direction. Now the ball is rolling in the point where it can't be stopped. Nothing's gonna roll that back. So, yeah, and the housework. This kind of, you don't really think about it too much, but we had a clogged drain. We had to go in and do that. I mean, I've been trying to do my best at being fairly diligent and unpacking boxes, but we still have plenty of those just kicking around. Trying to decide what to do with some of this stuff. Can I get some hedges back here? Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, it's a lot, It keeps the both of us rather busy, to the point where a lot of the time we're both just working on things pretty much all day. I spent all of yesterday after I got home from work, sorting out boxes, unclogging the drain in the sink, and, actually putting a bed together. That was one thing that we did. And what was the other thing? I can't recall. Just doing quite a bit. And that definitely took a lot of time. So by the end of the night, or by the time I was wrapped up, then we were pretty much wrapped up. We just sort of went to bed after that. Which, is a shame, because you like to be able to stay up and hang out and chit-chat and eat dinner together and whatever. she had dinner while I was just working on stuff. So that's, it sort of threw a wrench in the, oh, let's eat dinner together. But also she had leftovers and I didn't. It was only leftovers enough for one person, which is always a shame. But, oh well. Let me grab this again. So my number one goal today is actually to get this block done. Not that that's going to take forever, but it's a goal. Let's just slide this through here. And yeah, once we're done with this, I'm not exactly sure what we should do. I'm thinking industry work, actually. Not just to shake things up, but mostly because, well, there's a lot of that needs to be done. I haven't done a lot of looking for commodities, but setting up the multiple industries for, well, especially the metal plant, right? That's going to be a big deal. That's going to be something that, it's going to be fairly time-consuming, and we've got to get it done. So, that's that. So, yeah. All right, I'm just thinking about this area over here. How about just a stone wall? No. Wall low brown, wall gray brick, wall gray stone. What is this? What is this? Oh, that's actually quite nice. It's very UK, but okay. Anyway, I've got lots of stuff to talk about. I don't know why I'm lost for words at all. I'm just thinking about, like, justification of this wall here. This area is a little bit nicer than some of the other areas that we've worked on. Although, really, one of the big things is that these blocks should not be wide enough to have two sets of yards and then a strip down the middle. The blocks should be much tighter, and next time I'm going to pay attention to that. So, that's kind of my issue right now. That's my thought process. The fact that we have, I wouldn't say we've made a mistake, but we've done something that isn't necessarily right. So, that's just something we're going to have to deal with, we're going to have to live with. It's unfortunate because it isn't right, but like I said, we'll just have to deal with that. The stuff we make is not going to be perfect. And having these areas in between these rows of houses, I mean, it's kind of nice looking, but it's not overly realistic. These guys, I think I'm going to have them take over this area here instead of having that be grass. This will be green like a lawn. I'll put this here. So yeah, I came home and I had to start doing this right away. I pretty much walked in the door, sat down, and began this process. Began? I believe it's began. Of getting this all sorted out, of booting up trains and making sure the recording's working and yada yada yada. That's there's a surprising amount that has to get done before I can actually hit record and start talking on the internet. Or well, talking into a camera that will later be put up on the internet, but you know what I mean. The process to get that set up sometimes takes me a lot longer than I expected, And it sometimes screws me up a little bit because I think, oh, I definitely have enough time. But then the getting going takes far longer than I would have hoped, and then I have to run out the door when the recording's done, or I have to can the recording and just come back to it another time. Because if I don't have time to make it, I don't have time to make it, you know? This can always be pushed a little bit. If I have some place that I need to be, then that's some place that I need to be. There's really no two ways about it. I really don't like being late. Which my wonderful mother, I mean that she's a great woman, but she's late all the time to like everything, and it drives me absolutely nuts. I'm thankful that she didn't miss anything really significant because of that, but she has just been late and held stuff up a lot. It's annoying. It's a shame. I'm doing the double fence here because sometimes this happens where the two people don't agree on the kind of fence that they want, and so they both end up putting up fences. Yeah. Take this down here. I think I'll just do this one. And then the other thing I'll do is actually, where are those shrubs that I used? There are none near here, unfortunately. I don't have them in a pick list or anything, so I'd have to go get them, but let's see if I can find them. No. This is nice, though. Oh, that's way too much. Never mind. Let's see. I know they're in this list, so they've got to be in here sooner or later. Or, somewhere. I think they're JVC. Pretty sure they're JVC. They should definitely be in here. Somewhere. I hope I find them. Anyway. So, I need to rant, sort of at myself, as a matter of fact, about my commute home. The reason this is... So, the reason I had to rush into starting this is because I, like a fool, didn't check... that's a lot of shrubs. That's okay. Didn't check what the traffic was like on my typical commute. Because, of course, if I check, then I can know if I have to go a different way. And today, I should have definitely gone a different way. Today was a pretty significant mistake, and it took me an extra 15 minutes to get home, give or take, because of the fact that I goofed. Because I didn't check to make sure that my way home was clear. Which it wasn't, because there was an accident. There was an accident on the highway. By the time I got to it, it was mostly cleared, but I did get to see one messed up car. And a police officer and a AAA truck just sort of sitting, waiting, and traffic at a veritable standstill. It was awful. I have seen bad traffic on my commute home. It happens not infrequently, honestly, but that was worse than anything I knew, than anything I'd known on a regular basis. By the time I got really into it, I knew that there was something. I knew that there had been an accident, or I assumed there had to have been an accident, in order to create that much delay, and I was right. But I really should have just checked the map before I left for traffic and gone a different way home. I should have probably done that. That would have been the smart thing to do. Oh well, I am not smart. So, yeah, that cost me some time getting home, and it was, it's really a minor annoyance. Traffic is traffic. I never really had to deal with on my commute traffic after, or rather since, going to and from the Warwick office or really at all, when I lived in Warwick. The commute from there to my other office in Glastonbury, Connecticut, is fairly straightforward, and it's mostly against the flow of the commute. So it's the kind of thing where I do see traffic, but not in the direction that I'm going when I go to Glastonbury. When I went to the Warwick office or went to Boston, the station and the office were both right around the corner, and there was virtually no way I would get caught in traffic from doing that. So I was really lucky. And so now I've moved to Providence, which, it's a leg up because I'm in my own house now. That's certainly important. But at the same time, I now have to contend with actual commute traffic. It's still kind of a reverse commute because I'm starting out in Providence and going to Warwick, which is a suburb, but it is still busy, especially on the way back. And in particular, on a Friday at 5:30 p.m., it gets busy on the highway. Again, not crazy, not awful, but not great either. Not super fun. As evidenced by the fact that I got caught in traffic for an extra 15 minutes today. That's good evidence of why it's not great. But oh well, You do it, you get the money, then you go home. It's not the end of the world getting stuck in traffic. So, to everyone out there that's going to have to do a commute like that, just, load a bunch of audiobooks or podcasts on your phone, I guess, because nobody really has an iPod anymore. I do, but I'm a weirdo. So, load up some audiobooks, load up some podcasts, do something educational maybe, because there are great educational podcasts out there, or do like me and listen to the Rooster Teeth podcast and the Off Topic podcast. Either way, up to you. You can have an enlightening drive home, or you can crack up. So, yeah. Or just get something and get some good friends that you can talk to on the phone. Something like that. Now, I don't mean to be advocating for things that are unsafe. People do talk a lot about how unsafe talking on the phone and driving is. But I don't think it's unsafe enough, because obviously it is, because you are distracted. I don't think it's unsafe enough to warrant any real big hubbub about it, any more than having someone else in your car and talking to them is. Because nobody's going to ever outlaw talking in your car to whomever is in your car. But, on a cell phone, apparently it's a different story. I know, obviously, the reasoning for hands-free is, well, to keep your hands off of it and on the wheel, and to make sure that when you're interacting with your phone, it's not, you're not staring at it while barreling through traffic, because obviously that's incredibly dangerous. But in terms of using it to talk to someone, I put this fence the wrong way around 3 times in a row. Alright. In terms of using it to talk to someone, I don't think that's that big of a deal. Hands-free is one thing, which, I don't mind the hands-free thing, although I don't really conform to it. I don't think you're taking away anybody's rights, but I think that if you're talking about preventing people from talking on the phone at all, then that's a little bit too much. We have been moving in this direction for dozens of years. Car phones were such a big deal. And I know that's no reason to sort of excuse the whole thing, or dismiss the whole concern, but I think if you're in the car with somebody else, you're going to talk to them, so what's the issue with talking with somebody that isn't in the car with you? That's just my 2 cents. From an incredibly biased point of view of somebody who really likes to talk on the phone in the car. I pretty much only talk on the phone in the car. Don't misunderstand. What I mean is, the only time I talk on the phone is when I'm in the car, oftentimes. So the only time I'll actually call somebody is the most accurate statement there, because obviously I get phone calls when I'm hanging around at home and I answer them, or at work or whatever. But it's not the same as it's not the same as going out of your way to dial, quote unquote, a number and initiating a telephone conversation with somebody. There are a couple of people that I pretty much exclusively talk to on the phone, in the car. To the point where one of them, Donna Grace, typically picks up the phone and says, "Oh, where are you driving to today?" So, she knows. And it in a way, it makes me feel kind of bad because it almost feels like, oh, well, I wouldn't talk to you if it weren't for the fact that I'm bored in the car. But that isn't true. It's just, I don't have a lot of spare time, and when I'm in the car, it's basically spare time. So it's, I know she doesn't care, I know she doesn't mind, but it's just something that sort of I think about. It's like, I don't want to give the wrong impression, because I accidentally did give her the wrong impression once. She started getting in her own head about, like, maybe I don't want to talk to her, blah, 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 because of a couple things that I said, not really meaning anything, but about, like, oh, you can look this up, because she asked me about something, and I was like, you can look that up, and then I said some other thing, and she sort of, like, put two and two together, but I didn't mean to make a math problem. It's just that I was thinking, like, I said that, oh, I love solving this problem with you, but, you could have probably gotten this answer if you just Googled it. And, I was just trying to say it to be helpful. Like, the information is clearly, I don't remember what friggin' the question was, but I was like, I was just sort of indicating the information is out there. It's not, I was trying to say that I didn't look very hard for this, because I didn't want her to think like, oh wow, he's a lifesaver, he knows all this stuff. It's like, I Googled it. I did very basic Google foo to get the answer to your question, and so don't treat me as a hero because I figured this out. That was really what I was trying to get at with my statement there, but it was taken totally the wrong way. And I obviously, when she brought it up to me, I was like, oh crap, no, I get it. I didn't mean for it to come off like that. I just wanted to say that you're, you are, oh crap, what am I saying? I just wanted to say that, I was trying to be modest, basically what I was meaning. Let's get some dirt. I'm not sure I'm going to do the parking for these, but we'll see in a minute. Anyway, so I'm excited because, I'm excited for a number of reasons, but it is less than a week until I leave for Promontory Point. Hopefully this video will be up before I leave. I have to make a podcast this week as well, and Zombie Train as well, of course. This episode is being filmed on a Friday instead of a Thursday because, like I said yesterday, I was super busy fixing stuff around the house and organizing boxes and moving furniture. But, I got home from work today after I'd finished up what I had to do, and I just sort of went, all right, we're good, and sat down and did this. There was nothing that took priority. Even making food didn't take priority because I had kind of a late lunch after doing the closing. I was down in North Kingstown and I was hungry, and I didn't have any ham to make my lunch this morning, so what I did instead was I went to Wendy's. And those expenses will sneak right up on you. If you are going to start living on your own and you eat out a lot, and I mean in the sense of, getting food, then you're probably going to want to pay really close attention to your ordering. Because, a man can't live on Domino's and Wendy's alone. But on top of that, you will burn through all of your budgets, like all of them, immediately. That's something to worry about. It gets very expensive very quickly to eat out a lot. and you will get the best bang for your buck by going to a supermarket and doing things like buying lunch meat and making your sandwiches for lunch, and buying, stuff to make basic recipes. I would invest in a couple of cookbooks, or just go online to like the cooking subreddit or something. That's a great place. And you can learn a lot, and then you can do a lot. It's not hard to cook, and I'm saying that as someone who really doesn't cook that much. I have Madison to help me, which makes things 100 times easier and 100 times more fun. But the fact of the matter is, you can cook on your own. The thing that we've been doing is, for her birthday, I bought her the Fallout cookbook because she loves Fallout, and I have been, we've gone through it and picked out like, oh, this one looks good, this one looks good, and we've gone and bought the ingredients and are in the process of trying out a couple of these recipes, and so far it's been good, which I was very happy to see, because the reviews, at least people talking on Reddit about it, were kind of lukewarm. And I was really concerned that we were going to try some of these recipes and they weren't going to be very good. But so far, good. And we're marking up the cookbook as like a check mark for if it's a good recipe and an X if it's a bad recipe, after we try some of these things. So I think it's going to be a great adventure. Which, I like to describe stuff as a great adventure a lot, but I don't really know how else to describe it, honestly. It really is just a whack at something that we haven't done before. Owning a home, living together, cooking all of our own meals, everything like that, being only responsible for one another and, ourselves, and having no one else that's watching over us and telling us right from wrong. It sounds really daunting, and it is, but at the same time, it's really fun, really rewarding. Like, there's no other opportunity to be free like this. Like, really, like, really free. And of course, now I've got a mortgage payment. But the mortgage payment, believe it or not, is less per month than my student loans. So, it's not the biggest deal. It's relatively inexpensive. It's actually about $1,100, which is just slightly more than the amount that I paid for the rack and pinion and tires on my car. So, as long as I don't keep running to the mechanic, which I keep doing, then we'll be good. That's something I have to watch out for. That's a me personally thing. I really need to be careful of my mechanic expenditure. Now, having working cars is important, but I need to be on my game about, okay, so this is what I need to, this is how much I have to spend, fix this, this, and this. I have to be really upfront with Tony about, okay, this is how much money I have, we cannot go over this amount of money or else I won't be able to pay you. Obviously, he wants to get paid. We both want to fix these cars, but he wants to get paid. And I want to be able to pay him because he's a great guy and he deserves it. But, I don't want to have to shortchange him or be like, I'll have to pay you next week when, he does something on one of my cars and then I can't pay him right then and there because I can't afford it. So, that's something to watch out for. I know most of you, well, plenty of you don't have cars, but most of you don't have, like, antiques. So, I'm preaching to I wouldn't say the choir or the converted, but I'm preaching to people who really don't have any stake in this at all. So, I don't know. It's just, it can be really enlightening to make a spreadsheet of your finances. And I know that sounds boring, but I'm someone who loves spreadsheets, so it's not boring to me. It can be really helpful to understand how much you have to spend. And then the thing that you got to do on top of that is actually keep track of how much you're spending. So, it's a little bit of both, but initially the reason I made the spreadsheets is just so that I could know if I could actually afford the thing. And having a buffer of a few $100 a month, or knowing you have a buffer of a few $100 a month is really important. The other thing is I need to add a couple things to it, because there are things you don't think about before you actually get in the house. One of them being heating oil, which I believe I've talked about before. We already made our first purchase of heating oil, which, boy, that was fun, because it was an absolute mess, because it just happened all at once. I was like, oh, we need heating oil. Oh, let's call this place. Oh, they're coming right now? Crap. And I wasn't home. Madison was home, and she was, asleep. And so she had to, pay the guy, and then I paid her back or something. No, I paid on the phone. That's right. I paid over the phone, and the woman was nice enough to waive the processing fee because it all happened so fast. It was, wow, was that fun. Yeah. So, everyone look forward to getting a house. It's fantastic. But there are so many things that you will not think of until you're there, that you won't even get the chance to think of, really. Just because everything sort of happens at once. It's so slow going until you actually find a place, and then, boom, it's all happening. Which, speaking of boom, I'm waiting for a ticket to come in the mail. I messed up slightly. But it hasn't come, so they might not be sending me one after all. But if I end up going on Caught in Providence, I'll definitely tell everyone. You all will know. My mom was on Caught in Providence. If you don't know what Caught in Providence is, it is a TV show, which is also on YouTube, of traffic caught in Providence. Yes, get it? Caught. Anyway. What else was I going to talk about? There were a bunch of things I wanted to talk about. I came in here with a full roster of stuff I wanted to talk about, and now it sort of all slipped out of my brain in the meantime. There are things that I end up sitting on oh, I should talk about this on Under Construction. This is going to be great fodder. And then I forget. And then that's that. I just don't have a follow-on. I mean, I have a couple of comments, which is nice. It's a step up from last week where I didn't have any. But, I definitely had enough stuff. I've definitely had enough stuff go on in my life to be able to, carry on a full thought process and talk for 2 hours about what's going on around here. Because lots is going on around here. I mean, I know I talk about my cars a lot, so I try not to harp on about them too much. Because, well, it gets boring to talk about the same, it gets boring when I'm talking about the same thing all the time, I'm sure. But I think they really are great fodder for conversation. Okay, so we put a fence around that. Oh, you know what? Actually, I want to do that. Is this like a loading dock? Tesco. Alright, let's use some coarse gravel back here. And we'll push into this guy's yard. Just a bit. So he needs a fence. But what kind? There we go. Yeah, so doing some more industry programming will give me the ability to do some more actual programming. I don't really have that much time for that, but it is something that I like to do, and it's something that I can do in a pretty loose schedule, I can, for example, work from home even, and while I'm doing that, I can just have simulations running. The other thing I could do is, well, we have an elliptical, and I could put on TeamViewer on the other computer, which is hooked up to the television, and sit on the elliptical, which is in the living room, and work out a little bit, and and watch the simulation. I don't have to be sitting here twiddling my thumbs. I can have that up in the background, effectively. Meanwhile, I can listen to a podcast or whatever. So there are many possibilities for me to do simulations and do them well, and get a lot of them done. Yeah, this doesn't look good, but whatever. Let's get the white picket fence. So we are in front of the mill, right? Yeah, we haven't taken the turn yet, but we only have a half a dozen more blocks to go. This is how tight the blocks should be. This is a block. It's maybe a little bit too tight, but it's good enough. Hold on. What is this? Why is... I can't help with that. Eric asked me about doing something on his route, and he actually just went to detain, but unfortunately I cannot help him because I'm doing under construction. So, maybe I'll get back to him a little bit later about that. Hopefully I will be able to. But when I get off, Madison is going to be home. We are going to make pasta. We are going to eat said pasta. And I'm not sure what else is going to happen tonight. I know that there are things that I need to get done before the trip. In particular, I need to do some lines for Jimmy for To Rule the World, and Madison does as well. And we've been sitting on those for a very long time, but we've been moving. The other thing is I have plenty to do on the Minecraft server, and like I said, I could do another simulation, or I could try to program a little bit more. The thing that I have to program around here is the trolleys. So, and those bridges as well, but I'm not sure about that. The other thing that I should be doing probably is hooking up the tugboat tracks. Those are kind of maybe not important, but it is a job. It is something that I do need to get done, I suppose. Oops. So, automating the tug is going to be kind of a big deal. Okay. Let's see, we need basically one more house with a fence. What's the fence to use here? This one. These people in their perfectly manicured lawns. And let's put some shrubs back here. Nobody in this whole town has a garage. That's not like an oversight, it's just a fact of life. It's just, this whole darn town is too tight and land is too valuable. Alright, we got another block done. Alright, so that's 2 for today. We could do these 2 more, but I think I'll come back to this stuff. Let's look at these comments. PR Productions puts a timestamp in and goes, "You good?" The timestamp, for the record, I did check this one. The timestamp is me absolutely hacking my lungs out because there was a total frog in my throat because I hadn't had any water. I have a full glass of water here today. So if I, when I pause, well, it's either because I have a brain fart or it's because I'm taking a sip of water, which, you know, the Zuck must remain hydrated. If I don't consistently drink water throughout the show, I start to die. That's sort of it. You guys all listened to it. You guys heard me hacking my lungs out. It just 2 hours of talking. It really takes a toll on you and your ability to put words into the air, and that's it definitely is troublesome. It definitely gets troublesome because I like to talk and I like to make these videos, and I don't like to typically even take a few seconds of break from talking because we don't do the music anymore. I prefer to have pretty much consistent talking all the way through. If I see a big gap in the file, in the audio file, after I move it into the video editor, I'm pretty unhappy. I'm like, oh man, that's gonna sound not great on, when it actually comes out. But oh well. I'm doing my best with this. I'm no professional. I do this stuff. This is my side gig, as you guys know. Just 2 hours a week to make a route, and a couple hours every 2 weeks to make a podcast. So, Anyway, alright, so this area is coming along. Like, pretty much everything along the shore here I think looks pretty good. The only thing I would do is maybe reduce this here. But honestly, I think it's pretty fine. This is hovering. So let's do this. Oh, I added these buildings. I put these two buildings together, didn't I? Oh, turn the sensitivity up. I need to get this stuff properly situated. And the other thing I want to do is make another little slip here for a barge. So I wasn't sure where exactly I would be putting the sort of edges that we've been using elsewhere over by the textile mill, but I knew I would be putting them somewhere. And this is it. This is backwards, isn't it? No, actually, I got it right the first time. Holy cow. To be honest, doing it the other way around, I was not looking forward to doing it, because it's tough to line it. Sometimes it's really difficult to line it up from one direction, and the other direction it's fairly easy. This was one of those. I think I would have had a much tougher time if I tried to line it up from the other way. And so this area here, right? So we have this like administration looking building here. No, those are fine. We have this crossing here. We have another little, almost like a gatehouse here. I'm going to move this closer to the thing. What do I want to do here? I'm thinking, right? So macadam with the one side, other way. I actually sort of want to send it right into the drink. Almost like a boat ramp. Why does that... Okay, that's 2 concrete trucks in a row. Interesting. Why do I want this? I'm not really sure, but I think it's I think it's going to be great. It's going to be huge and luxurious. Okay. This is like so. Alright. Alright. That's both fine. Do this, please. That's a steep boat ramp. Oh, but that doesn't help. I want cars to be able to come into here, though. So, the idea was, okay, we have these single side roads. I can probably do something like this. Crap. Okay, how do I make this not look terrible? Man, that's the story of my life. Just do that for a second. How come that doesn't actually fill in underneath the road? You could slide the building this way and have a little bit more room. There we go. Yeah, okay, this should be a little bit better, a little bit easier. Wrong thing. And yesterday, I even announced that I was doing under construction, like I was filming it yesterday, and then I didn't get around to it, and I felt kind of bad about that. Because, I mean, I don't think anyone rushed to make their comments, but, you know, I still feel a little bad about the fact that I was like, oh, I'm doing it today, and then I didn't. Just that I was misleading. Because I could have sworn that I would be able to. Oh, and now I did it backwards. I could have sworn that I would be able to, and it just didn't happen. And, I mean, sometimes you can't control that. Typically you can, but, and usually when I decide not to do it, it's because, well, I guess it wouldn't make sense for me to try and cram that in today because sleep is important and so is food. And also cleaning this house up is really important because having having boxes strewn about, it doesn't look great, It doesn't look great. So I am doing my best to make sure that whenever possible I prioritize house things over this stuff. Because, well, this is important, but it can wait. The house stuff will pile up if I don't get to it. Well, some things that you just can't fix. So you just sort of move on. We thought we couldn't fix a drain problem because it seemed to not be going down, but apparently, according to Madison at least, it's doing fine now. Like, my dad and I tried for a couple of hours yesterday to sort of get it to work properly, and at the end of the day, it still wasn't going down. And I just sort of went, well, okay, I guess that's it. We'll just have to leave it, and that'll be that. But it turns out something we did actually worked. Maybe it took a little while or something to take effect, although I have no idea why that would happen. It doesn't really happen with plumbing, but hey, I'm not really complaining. Let me do one more thing. Rusty rails. No, not that. I just want, Rusty. I really... There we go. That's what I need. I thought that there was stuff like this, but I wasn't certain. I'm just going to put this on the dock itself. And that'll be that. I think it'll add a little bit to this aesthetic. If I made it 3 foot over here, that'd be even more puzzling. It's like, why is this here? How would a 3 foot gauge engine even get over here? Although I think, one of the things that I had tossed around was, well, maybe I can have some 3 foot on this side, or former 3 foot on this side that, looks like it would have been here. Because 3 foot gauge engines and stuff, they could have come across that bridge. I'll have it go right into the pavement. Just right into the side. There we go. 3 foot gauge could have cut across there, and again, I was thinking of having something over here, or having part of the yard be dual gauge, or, something to that effect. I thought it really could add something to it, but I ended up not going with it just for the sake of keeping the complexity of the area down. This area is it's really busy, It is really busy. There's a lot going on in this little town, and on its own, this town could be a not awful route, just a standalone route for switching and everything like that. But that's not what this is. This is part of a much, much larger project, and at some point it pays to keep the complexity down a little bit, to focus more on getting it done so you can get the next thing done. And obviously, maybe I need to see the value of that even more than I do, but I've been trying to live by that, at least to some extent, now that we're in the 5th month of the year. We're just chugging along on this single part of the map, and eventually we'll get more done. Eventually we'll get this done, because the pace is steady, if slow, but it is happening. Nothing's slowing us down, really. I took a couple of weeks off for the move, but that's a one-time affair. I'm not going to be moving again anytime soon. Come on. Come on. Anyway. Okay, let's do that. Just trying to get all these walls to line up properly. Now, obviously, we're not going to have any barges over here, but I wanted to do something to separate these back doors from, well, anything else. Give me that. And then down on the beach side, I'm going to use this same sort of gross beach texture that I've used elsewhere around here. I think it actually serves its purpose fairly well. Took us a while to find it, but, it's one of those things that when you stumble across something that actually serves your purpose really well, you just sort of keep it around and reuse it again and again. There's only a handful of splines that we've used on this map. There's only so many textures that we've used, although those are a little bit more diverse. It's just when something does the job, you don't want to go in search of something else. You don't want to spend too much time looking for something else when you already know what an answer is, especially on a route like this where, maybe not time is of the essence, but certainly there's a lot that can be done. So, anyway. Let's fill that in. Okay. Although, didn't I have a texture that matched this really well? I think it was this. Yeah. Let's use that instead. It looks less dumb. It's a lot more subtle that the things are the way they are back there. Man, I can't wait for ground scatter. I cannot wait for ground scatter. This is a TS12 texture. Hopefully I can use it. It's Trains 12. It's funny how many things. So, okay, here's a big piece of news that I could have saved for the podcast, but I'm going to talk about it right now because I'm looking forward to it. Because I was talking about games last time, and it is the fact that Transport Fever 2 was released, or not released, but announced. Sorry, don't wanna, go too far with that one. It was announced. We don't really know much about it other than it's going to be sort of the same old thing. But, hey, I'll take more of the same old thing from that developer. They've shown themselves to be very good and very competent. And very responsive to their community as well. So, they're good. I'll take more. I'll pay another, $40, $50, $60 for another game by them. I don't remember what they're called, but they were really good. So, I'm happy about that announcement. I'm actually really happy. So, you'll probably see some gameplay of that, but I might not buy it immediately. Mostly because I have a lot of other games to play, including Transport Fever, which I still really haven't touched that much. And I still never made a super modded Let's Play in it, which is what I wanted to do this whole time. Because I said, I'll finish the campaigns first. And I think I've reached a point in the campaign where I don't feel like continuing on. So, I might do another series in that, but the issue is, it's single player. That's my issue with it. And I know that's fairly petty. There are a lot of great games that are single player. But, when you look at the fact that Locomotion had multiplayer, even Locomotion had multiplayer, it was 2-player, but, it was there. Transport Tycoon, of course, had multiplayer. OpenTTD is huge for multiplayer still, to this day. Railroad Tycoon had multiplayer. Sid Meier's Railroads had multiplayer. So many of these awesome Transport Tycoon style games, that genre of game, had multiplayer, at least in some capacity, in some, sometimes fairly limited capacity, but sometimes fairly extensive, like Railroad Tycoon, Open Transport Tycoon. The multiplayer for those is huge. It's a massive community, and the modding scene is massive, and, one sort of follows the other. The multiplayer keeps the game alive, and the modded keeps the multiplayer alive. Just because there really isn't much else with that kind of gameplay, and I really, really, really hope that Transport Fever 2 has multiplayer. I will still probably buy it nonetheless, but if it has multiplayer, they've ensured that my household buys 2 copies. And then plus whatever ones I get people as gifts or whatever, because I would love to play Transport Fever, even just co-op, even just 2 people. That isn't co-op if you're still going against one another, but a 2-player multiplayer like Chrysaor's Locomotion, I would love it. I would die. And I would love to see a multiplayer mod for it, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. I doubt the game code is really ready to support something like that, or for the original Transport Fever. Yeah, I doubt the game code is ready to support something like that, or capable of supporting something like that. But it would still make me extraordinarily happy. I would pay money for a mod of Transport Fever that let you do multiplayer, even if it's just vanilla stuff, even if it isn't modded stuff. It would be fantiddlyastic. So, that's my opinions on that subject. I am just really, really looking forward to this game. I am hoping that they listen to the probably small but hopefully very vocal part of the community that does want multiplayer like I do, and puts it in the game. I don't really know where they can go from Transport Fever. It's such a high point. It was a really, really good game. I mean, the worst thing about it was the performance, and they did a really good job of fixing that. Like, a really good job. But if they continue to, if they want to continue improving on that, then I think that that's the way to go, with trying to ease into the open TTD market share. That's the most important thing, in my opinion. That's something that's really big that they could do. They could do. I wouldn't say with minimal effort, but all they have to do is make their game multiplayer. All they have to do. Easier said than done. Anyway. Yeah, so they announced that. I'm excited. If there is a multiplayer, hell, if there's a server, I will find a way to host a OpenTTD server the same way I host a Minecraft server. Speaking of Minecraft, Madison and I went out and scouted the new location for the SAR arena. I do have a name for it, but I'm not sharing it right now. I do have a concept for the way it's going to look, but I'm also not sharing that right now. I am trying to be as secretive as possible with this, so that when people go to this location and see the area for the first time, see the setup for the first time, they are, I mean, maybe not in awe, I don't think it's going to be that impressive, but it's going to be like a, wow, look at this place, you set this whole thing up, and also the area will be totally unspoiled. Nobody will know anything about it. Nobody will have explored any of it, aside from Madison and I when we were doing our initial scouting. It is really important to me to make it so that this area doesn't have to be moved for a while, for the foreseeable future, and that's why I did it in pretty much fully generated or brand new chunks. Brand new chunks. Nothing old. Everything is 1.14. Madison and I went through the Nether for a good long while, and then dropped a new portal down, and have been exploring this area and are preparing to bring in supplies to start constructing stuff. And I've talked about needing help to get those supplies, and there's been a huge showing of support for, oh, we'll help you, which is awesome. I'm super duper grateful for everyone that's volunteered to help. And unfortunately, it's really just going to be a getting supplies thing, because, like I said, I'm trying to keep this area super duper secret, and I don't want to, allow anybody access. Access to the area is strictly forbidden right now. Not that anybody knows where it is. And, there's always a non-zero chance that A, somebody ignores me, or B, somebody stumbles upon it by accident, which could happen. But I don't think that's going to happen. That seems unlikely, based on everything. But I am looking forward to showing off this new area in future. Anyway, PRO Productions also asks, link to download the current version of the route, ? Unfortunately, I don't give out links to download the current version of the route. If you would like, you can hit me up on Skype at bombs321, and if you want to get the route in its current form, then you can ask me about that and maybe I'll give it to you. But that is a hard maybe. I don't typically hand out versions of the route, just in general. But if you do want a version of the route, the most recent download station release was when we just had Olive. So things have progressed significantly from there, but that doesn't mean that that version is bad. You can get that on the download station if you look up Tolbrynd, Tolbrynd. So, you can get versions of the route, just not this version, unless you ask me specifically for it. And also probably happen to catch me in a good mood, because, like I said, I don't tend to give out versions of this route. I do only to my group of friends, and it's mostly for testing. But that hasn't really stopped me before. I'm not one to, the reason that I'm yammering on about keeping the thing super secret and not telling this and not saying that for the SAR area in Minecraft is because I am not that great at keeping my own secrets. If it's someone else's secret, I can easily not talk about it at all. But when it's something that I'm working on, because I'll be excited about it, I am such a blabbermouth. I just find reasons to tell people. And it's not good. It's really kind of detrimental to my ability to keep my own secrets. But that's, sort of to the point of why I don't really have many secrets. I try to avoid that because I end up spilling the beans anyway. So, if it's easy enough for me to just talk about something, I can just talk about something. But right now, I'm doing my best not to talk about the SAR thing, and yeah, I'm more than likely to share this route if somebody asks for it. So, if you want to come find me on Skype, I'm always around. Bombs321. My picture is right now. I think it's Tom Brady with the Infinity Gauntlet. I think. And my status is a red versus blue quote from Sister, from not the most recent season, but the season before that, and it totally sums up, like, I'm not sure if it totally sums up my religious views. I don't really talk about my views on much of anything on the podcast, on the show, aside from, like, be great to one another, be excellent to one another, but the quote basically sums them up, at least to an extent. I don't feel as strongly as the quote would suggest, but I found the quote hilarious and also relatable for myself, so I decided to put it as my status. I'm not going to say it on air. If you care what it is, just you can go look it up. Most people watching, I think, already know me on Skype, so whatever. But you guys know, of course, if you have a question about the video or about anything at all, you can go ahead and post it down below. I mean, honestly, if you wanted me to talk about my religious views or whatever, you could say so. It's just I know it's a touchy subject for a lot of people, and so I don't want to start going down that road if I don't have to. I don't much care, though. Again, along with the not having many secrets, it's about mostly just being open and just talking about everything, talking about anything, talking about even things that I don't like. It's, it sounds ridiculous, but I really do enjoy sort of talking about things that almost kind of unsettle me. There are plenty of things in this world that I'm not really a fan of, but discussing them makes them more palatable. Anyway, broaden your horizons, ladies and gentlemen, whenever possible. So, okay, we have that building, we have this area in. Evan Games says, sorry about not leaving a comment in a while. I've been really busy with Nifty 50s, The Blob, and the one I just finished, Seussical Kids. They all went great, but I'm sad that they are done. Isn't that always the case with productions? There's a reason why I cling to the Iron Horseman. I will never let it go, because it is such a huge... it was a huge part of my life for a couple of years, and it still kind of is. We talk about it a lot, and though, even when I'm not making a lot of actual progress on it, it is in my head a lot. I will occasionally refer to people as their characters, or I'll go into character, or whatever. The other day, so Tori who is the voice actor for Sally, works at Target near me. And, or rather, I just found out she works at Target. And so I've been trying to stage a run-in with her, because I haven't seen her in a while, because we sort of lost touch. And of course, there are much easier ways to get in touch with a friend that you haven't talked to in a while. But I figured that the most entertaining way would be to go in there, put on the Kurt voice, and go around asking for Sally. And I had a line totally worked up for when she noticed me. It was like, "Hey Sally, you pretentious silver bullet, get over here." Just as well I haven't seen her yet. Oh well. I'm looking forward to running into her. Nobody tell her I'm coming. However, on the flip side of things, Shelby, who is the voice of Sam, currently goes to school in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is on the way back from Cheyenne. And I am so looking forward to visiting her before we head out. Dragging Jader and Weibold up to Fort Collins and saying hello to saying hello to Shelby, Sam, because they've never met in person. Weibold has been here before, but Jader hasn't, and neither of them have met Shelby in that time. Alright, what am I going to do? Oh, let's fill in this area here. The less grid there is, the better I feel. One, how has everything been lately? Well, I covered a lot of it when I started off the show. Things have been super crazy and hectic, but they've been really fun. I'm really enjoying being able to spend more time physically with Madison. Because before, we were only 15 minutes away, but we would only see each other sometimes once a week or so. It wasn't that often that we would be able to spend actual time, this sort of time where we would just sit down on the couch, watch TV, or just sit and play games, because all the time either I had worked that day, or I had worked that day, I should say, or she had worked that day, or she had worked that day later in the day. And that meant that either I had to get to bed, or I was already tired anyway, or that she had to leave to go to work, or she had to leave to go home because she had a curfew. Now she doesn't have a curfew, but it doesn't matter anyway. It's a moot point because she lives with me. So we have our own curfew of when we're tired. But, that means that we have tons of time to spend together that we didn't have otherwise. And it's such a nice change. And that's obviously one of the biggest advantages of moving in with your significant other is the fact that you don't, all of your spare time you spend together, effectively. Which, if that sounds like a nightmare, then maybe you shouldn't be dating that person. To be fair, though, there are definitely times where she wants to sit and do her own thing, and I wanted to sit and do my own thing. And so, we have learned to be perfectly fine with being in the same room as one another, and just sort of occupying the same space. Not really interacting that much, but just sort of looking over or reaching over, where I'm doing something and she's doing something, but it's not the same thing in the slightest. And so it's one of those things where it's this period now where we're in this transitional period of trying to figure out what's the optimal balance between time for ourselves, because we need time to ourselves, and time with one another. And we're going to try out a couple of things. We've made a couple of plans. We're thinking through a couple of ideas about, okay, we're going to do like a date night like once a week, and once, one of those two is going to be, or, every other one is going to be a stay home and hang out date night, and the other one is going to be like a go out to dinner somewhere nice. Obviously it's contingent on being able to afford all that stuff, but we'll figure it out. That's the kind of thing that we're here to do. That's the kind of thing that you have to learn when you're out on your own. Again, one of those things that you really don't think about that much, but is really important. Being able to make time for one another and make time for yourself is important. I'm never worried about, oh, she's going to come home and nag me and pull me away from the computer and, whatever. She's not going to let me play my games. It's like, if I say, hey, I want to go play something, that's fine. If I say, hey, let's play something, that's also fine. Or, if she's like, oh, let's watch this show or whatever. The other day when I was totally wrapped up in moving boxes and stuff, she just came in here and she just watched her show quietly while I sorted some stuff out, because I am a very peculiar individual when it comes to sorting things out. And even though Madison is definitely the lady of the house and she does like everything in the kitchen because she knows how to cook and I really don't, she got to decide most of the organization of the stuff in the kitchen. And when we're in there and when we're cooking something together, I have to be like, where is this, where is this, where is this? Because I don't know. I don't know anything. Oh, crap, I forgot about this. I forgot this was hovering. I need to fix that. Oh, I forgot. Damn it. But yeah, on the whole, there have been a couple tense moments because nothing's perfect, but things have been pretty good. Things have been pretty good. We're getting along. Who would have thunk we've been in a relationship for 4 or 3 years, and now we're finally moving together, and what do you know? We're getting along. We always make jokes about when we're going to get tired of one another, but I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of this girl. Anyway, we set up a lot of stuff. We're looking forward to hosting guests and stuff like that. I had initially kicked around the idea of, let's have a housewarming party and invite people. But that's surprisingly difficult when people sort of live all over the place. And also when we're not really great hosts yet. So we need to learn that. We have between now and Christmas to learn how to host. Because, as is tradition, the Rowley Street house hosts Christmas Eve. So that's going to be a big deal. And we need to figure out how to do that. But, we're going to figure it out. Things will be just fine. Nothing can go wrong, as a matter of fact. Alright, let's get some crossing boards in here because we need them. Over here. There we go. And then let's sink this end into the ground. Wrong thing. How about this? Oh, the other thing is, right? Now, I don't know how many people in the audience follow the Swedish power metal band Sabaton. But if you don't, you should. They write power metal songs about historical events and things like that, and they are one of my favorite bands. And they are doing a US tour in the coming year. And the tickets are on sale, and I've already bought a pair of tickets for the show in Worcester. They're hitting up a ton of locations stateside, so and in Canada as well. So absolutely, I would look them up if you're into rock and roll, if you're into history, if you're into some good friggin' music. I would check them out immediately. Anyway. Yeah. And there's also the Sabaton History channel, which is a channel done by Indy Nidell of the Great War and World War II fame, about where they break down one Sabaton song each week and talk about the history and the like. It's fantastic. It's one of the best productions on YouTube, in my opinion, right now. Of course, it's really hard to peg what's actually the best. That's why I said, in my opinion. It's probably not even close. I just haven't heard of the best one yet. If you have a favorite YouTuber and you want to share them, especially if it's a little guy, you can post them down below and talk about what they do, and I'll read that aloud. It's not exactly that I have a huge following, but, it's better than nothing. Anyway, 2. Since I'm going to be a lot less busy, I can start work on the reskins again. Yes, I saw the 040. I'm so excited. Your animation on that running gear is actually really impressive. I can't get close to that. I haven't really modeled anything, but reskins and the 040. Also, Trainman 05. I apologize that I haven't been able to get to your reskins yet and look them over. I want to. is, you know, unsurprisingly very difficult to do when I'm in the process of moving. And it's in the back of my mind, I swear it is. I just haven't been able to do it. It's shameful, honestly. And no, you're not being a jerk by asking me. The reminders are kind of helpful because it makes me want to do it more. So, you know, multiple people have been making me reskins. Evan is one of them. And this is for, as many of you probably know, the Great Tolbrand Reskin Project and doing all the stuff for this map of ours. And I really, really appreciate all the support that I've got from everyone on this project, and on Tolbrand as a whole, because this is a huge, huge project, and I would never have the determination to finish something like this without the support of everyone, without the support of this channel. So I really appreciate it, and you know, if you ever want to talk to me about it, you guys know where to find me, and I will always talk about it. I love this route more than anything. Well, not more than anything, but I love it a lot. Okay, so there's another entrance, and this area is going to look good. I hope. Maybe this grass. Spread it out over here. Maybe this grass. Along the side of the building here. Try and do my best with this. The corner of this building is actually very close to the tracks here. I'm not sure if I like that. Oh well. If it clips into it, then maybe I'll move it. But I think it's fine. I think it should be fine. For now, at least. If I have to move it a little bit, it won't be the end of the world. I'm loving this. I'm loving it. It's great. It really is. Let's see. Is there a wall, like a good wall, that I can use for this? Because, I mean, you think about it, we need some like, factory gates. I was holding shift. I was holding shift. Definitely holding shift. Alright. Well, this is going to make it look better, I guess. Gonna make it look like something. I probably should make a path up to the front, but really I don't think anyone would be going in the front. Just pull this up to here. I mean, the wall is probably largely unnecessary these days. And they probably knocked some of it down to get the trucks in here. If I had some cool giant gates, I'd put them here. It's kind of a low wall, but it's just to mark the boundary of the place. What is this? Anyway. Okay. What's next? What are we doing? Who's that? Who's there? Who are you? When is this? What are we going to do now? What time is it? Alright, an hour and 24 in. Well, You know, I just realized something, right? So, if we've got coal coming down... Would we have coal coming down? Yeah, we would. It would be loaded onto the barge here. But, you know, this is designed almost like to take coal off of a barge. You know, I'm about to do something really stupid, but I think it's going to be okay. Because I just talked about this and about not making it complicated. But here we go. Watch this. This is going to be dumb. You guys are probably already onto what I'm doing. Because where else would the coal come from? Wouldn't make sense to bring it in on the standard gauge. That means it's got to come in on the narrow gauge. Where's the track? Right. Oop. Really, I don't expect to see much coal coming down this way anyway, because, well, it really just isn't a coal sort of area. Coal trains are not the thing that would be supplying this. And I mean, as you guys know, or as you guys may remember from a long, long time ago, the Volga Mountains, the Geiger Mountains, sorry, are not exactly very rich in coal. There's one coal mine on the entire railroad, and even though that is going to be different in this version because the railroad's getting a lot bigger, the basic rationale still holds. That the GMR or the GMRR or the Geiger Mountains was never a mineral heavy railroad. They mostly were a foresting railroad, and so a lot of the time, they had to get their coal from elsewhere. But they had one coal mine on their route, on their railroad, to take coal out of. Alright, so now we have a third rail that goes only, but all the way, to the coal dock here, no. So, an engine would have to push a coal car through here, past the station, back out onto the main line, and then over here. And I think the issue with that is the fact that there is no other siding. So, you would have to come and get it. Although, actually, no, I'll do this. I'll let there be some ops over here. Oops. Wrong button. I'll let there be some ops over here. But I'm not going to set up this switch right now. And I'll actually have this stop short of the actual thing. The buffer. Bust my buffers. So there can be a switching job done in here if you don't pull too far out. I mean, let's be honest, there are not going to be too many cars going through there at once anyway. Alright, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. I just got a message that Milky's booking his flights out to Utah. Which I thought he'd be taking the train, but he doesn't have the time. He just got a new job, and he's been busy. As have I. Of course. Alright, next part of this question. 3, I may have asked this before, but have you ever been in a play before? I don't know, actually. I may have been a very long time ago. But basically, if I was also too young to remember it, which is really unfortunate. But I haven't done anything with the stage in a very long time. If ever, I guess. I remember doing some things. I swear, I must have done something. But almost everything that I did with regard to stage performance was in a band or in a choir. So, I don't know about a play. Maybe I was. I need to ask my mom if she remembers anything from when I was really little about me being in a play. Because there's a non-zero chance that did happen. I'd assume, I have vague memories of doing something stage-related, but I don't know if they're real or if they're like, I watched TV and then saw this scenario and then pictured myself in it and then it became burned into my mind. I was talking with a friend last night, like right before I went to bed, about something, and then that appeared in my dreams. And it's like, alright. Like, I wake up this morning going, well, I know where that came from. Because, sometimes you have dreams that are totally bizarre and inexplicable and, sometimes really kind of weird. But I woke up and I was like, okay. Like, alright, now I know what happens when I have a conversation about something, I don't know. It was a little bit lewd, immediately before bed. And I end up dreaming about that. I don't mean lewd like dirty, but it was, like, the subject matter was a little bit. Okay, let's fill this area in. Okay. Try not to get grass on the road, but it isn't really the biggest deal. Look at that, we got this thing squared away. So, here's the thing, right? If we're going to be dropping off standard gauge coal cars here, or if we're going to be dropping off narrow gauge coal cars here, then we really need to not be dropping off standard gauge coal cars here. Or we'll roll them over, unload them, and roll them back. So, I guess either one works, but it wasn't really what I was thinking. We need to put up the canal wall here. I still don't know what to do with this area here. Feel like a sheep pen, another sheep pen. Because what would a town in this route be without one? Pleasing, that's what it would be. Okay, we also need to do this at some point. The trolley wire over there. Where are we in terms of time? I just checked like 6 minutes ago, but still asking. Alright, so I did this area. I said I was going to work on multiple industries. I'm just not sure if I really want to. This is not going to be functional. Or, well, it doesn't have to be non-functional, but what this would be a thing to lift up freight cars and swap new trucks under them. But what I think I'm going to use it for is an actual log transfer. So it's going to take logs and store them somewhere and then move them onto the standard gauge. So that's my solution with that, or my thought for that, just to make it functional, Let's see. Alright, we have this nice sharp corner. Drop off flat cars. We have this to drop off coal. Okay, so we definitely need a multiple industry here. Let's just start putting them down. Multiple industry. Let's see. Where is the other kind of... Nope. Is it multi? Ah, here we are. We have 200 meter multi-industry. That seems excessive. See, the thing is reaching over to this track, but really it would only ever want to be reaching this track. So I'm going to go with sense here and line this up on the closer track and not the farther track. If you guys wholeheartedly disagree, then you can say something in the comments, and I will move it because it's not the hardest thing to move. All right, now we need to hook up these rails. All right, I'm good with the multi-industry. I don't need the filter anymore. I found what I was looking for. What I'm looking for. Right over there. Well, I'm glad to hear that all your productions went well, Evan. That's something really cool. I admit, even though I've never been involved in too many, well, again, certainly not stage productions, because I guess I can't remember those. Even though I haven't been involved in too many of those, it is a really fantastic thing to be able to do a production like that, and it's awesome when it pays off. What was the other thing about that? I don't remember. 4, I would honestly love a train/locomotion type of game. I actually wanted to make a trains map with only towns and other types of things like that, and set some rules like, depending on how long a piece of track is, it would cost a set amount of money. It would start with 15,000, and certain locomotives cost certain amounts. I just never got around to that. So that would be awesome. I'll start with that. That would be awesome. I can 100% understand why you didn't get around to that, because setting up something like that is, well, it's difficult. But the thing is, I also have been tossing around an idea like that, where we get a really big map. Although we were going to also do this in Rails of War on Minecraft instead of in trains. You get a nice big map, and you pick a start and end point, and then you just go for it. And the thing that you could do in trains is, and we were going to do this for a route build competition, the thing we were going to do in trains was just a random dem from a random place, and then just run with that. You know, we have a dem, let's just go with it. You know, let's see. Go from here to here, go. And just, again, see what people come up with. What is this? Oh, this is part of the actual factory building. Let's get a... Oh, I keep clicking on that instead of this. Let's get a 20 meter here. I think I just heard a car door close, but I don't think Madison would have been home this quickly. See, the thing is, to get from where we work, which is very close to one another, as a matter of fact, fairly. Well, for Rhode Island, it's not that close, but it's fairly close. To here takes hugely varying amounts of time based on what time of day it is. It took me over half an hour to get home, and that's an absurd amount of time for my commute. And on good times of the day, it can take her like 5 minutes. No word of a lie, like 5 minutes. And yeah, it really just, she has it a little bit easier because she's on, because she's closer to the highway than I am, but we're both really close. It's just the traffic that changes from hour to hour or across a couple of hours really makes the difference. It makes a massive difference. Alright, so I'm gonna put that like that. Most of these things are going to be unloading stuff. This actually is probably going to be box cars, and this is going to be flat cars. And I'm not sure what this is going to be. This is the DES furniture warehouse, isn't it? So getting things that can carry these is going to be the real trip. Yeah, air conditioners, coffee makers. Like, look at all these. This is awesome. I would love to use these, but you need to have things that can carry them. So that's what doesn't exist right now. That's the difficult and ridiculous part. So, okay, so we're going to... I need to put in like a concrete platform here. Let's get a platform. Wood platform, no ramp, but there's a ramp right there. Literally right here. Hopefully I can use this. Maybe it means no ramp at both ends. This is only a ramp at one end. Maybe. Maybe that's what it means. Get this really up close to the tracks. Okay. So I'm not sure we'll be dropping off here again, because that takes in steel coils. I mean, you can't get it in here, but maybe if I use the industry link, I can. Anyway, let's just put down the nope, the multiple industry. Give me that. Let's do a 20 meter right in the middle. Actually, yeah. And I'm going to actually make it fairly close to the bottom end, like towards the bottom of the screen here. Because if we're putting in more than one freight car, which we could totally do, it likes to run them all over the industry. And if you screw that up, it can just run them off the end of the track. And it will. It won't stop. It will just run them off the end of the track. I've watched it happen. So, you know, it's... You gotta toy with it a little bit. You gotta sort of tailor it to do what you want. As is anything with AI and computers. It's... You need to know what you're dealing with, and you need to work around it. And although there are many really handy commands and things like that that make working around stuff like that easy. You know, the couplet track mark command, for example, it makes things so much easier than they otherwise would be, by an enormous factor. But there are still some things that are fairly insurmountable. And again, the thing that I've come back to before, and that I didn't learn until I was pretty deep into the automation of what we have currently. Never give the AI the freedom of choice if you can avoid it. You know, obviously they need to figure out how to path, and to that end, you really just want to have as many track marks as you can in convenient locations, and in very straightforward locations. And you want to make everything else be decided through things like through either track marks or interlocking towers or whatever. You know, if you're working in a yard and the train has to find its way to the right yard track, then that's one thing. But having it find the right track on the main line, that is never a decision the AI should be making. That is something that you, the designer, should have planned out ahead of time. And yeah, working around a player is one thing, but the goal is that the player is also very cognizant of what they have to do and knows not to go off script. And knows that if they do go off script, then things might break, and they have to be okay with that. I'm trying to make the schedules on Tolbrand fairly lenient for a lot of the passenger trains, because if a human is running them, a human is really not going to be as efficient as the AI, because a human has to do things like, well, actually drive the train. So, you know, that's something that is an issue. But what was I going to do with this? Was this supposed to be my log unloader or something? I don't remember. I have this track here now. I don't remember what I was doing with it. Okay, so is there anywhere that needs a multiple industry that doesn't have one yet? These do. These two do. These need it. but I'm not sure how I'm going to execute that. I mean, an industry link is going to have to be it, but... So let's get a couple of these. This is the kind of thing where operations here would be very slow, and this would be the kind of thing where it happens throughout the entire day. This is going to be, like the trolleys, an absolutely staggeringly absurd number of commands for a single locomotive, or a single driver. Because the locomotive is going to be sitting here, shunting, back and forth, taking care of shifting one car at a time into here. Oh, crud. I missed. And, on the narrow gauge side, one car at a time into here. And then the standard gauge train is going to come over and pick stuff up. Probably in bulk. So, that narrow gauge switcher that's unloading one car at a time, which is to sort of mimic what the operations would be, where you're loading up, standard gauge cars. Or you're taking a narrow gauge car, you're putting it over here, and you're putting standard gauge trucks on it. Yeah. And so you would be doing that one car at a time. And then the standard gauge engine would pull up and offload, and just pick up all of the standard gauge cars. And this mimics a thing that was at the East Broad Top, I believe. Or somewhere similar. I think it might have been the East Broad Top. But they were doing it with flat cars. They might have also been doing it with lumber. But either way, that's the goal of this area here, is just to transfer lumber from one to the other. We will need an industry link over here. So let me get one. Industry link. I'm going to put one there. We do need one there. Where else do we need one? We need one over here. That's a goods warehouse. We need one over here to move steel. Probably steel. We don't need one over here. That's just going to unload things, but we do probably need one over here. So that's that. We have those industries squared away. I don't think... I talked about this industry here. This isn't going to be a functioning industry. It's just going to be sort of in a field. The rest of this stuff here, this is just a base of operations, and honestly, I should have gone with the roundhouse. And I still have room for one, honestly. I could put one, like, right here. And if it comes to pass, then we need more, space, then I will still go with the roundhouse. In fact, I'll put one down just in case. Maybe, you know what? Should I just bite the bullet and do it? Should I just bite the bullet and put a roundhouse here? Because this is supposed to be the base of operations for, like, half of the system. This is a pretty significant yard. I don't know, I'll think about that. Let's find a roundhouse real quick. Okay. I was just checking that I didn't have more to talk about. Roundhouse. And I mean something big. TBS roundhouse kit. Oh, I must have picked these up off of something. Did I download these, or... Are these from the DLS, or no? Looks... Oh, it looks too nice. Also, it's standard gauge, so I can't use it anyway. Short line roundhouse. What of these are the 3-foot gauge roundhouses? I should know this already. Oh, you know what? I can... Are these... No, these... Wait, what if I tie a track to it? Oh, yes, it works. It will do that, so I can use this. I can actually use this. I love this. This is really cute. Let me make sure that I am allowed to use it. Manage content. Come on, Ting. You can do it. I believe in you. Alright. Content manager. Short line. Okay, so I could use this if I wanted to. Let's go back to looking up roundhouses. Short line roundhouse. Shoreline Roundhouse, installed from DLS. I can use this. NG38 8-stall roundhouse and 65-foot turntable. Why can't I put it down? Also could use this. This is kind of nice, and I'm pretty sure this is on the BLS. But this one's so much cuter. Honestly. Honest to God, this is the best. I wish the doors all opened. Or I wish they were all open. I can't open them. So I assume they don't open on their own. Can I open and shut the doors on this? No. I can just name the turntable. Gunnison. Is this 3-foot gauge? Yeah, it is. It's big and not really that great of a model, but it's nice. It's too modern. EBT roundhouse. Oh, this is a Ben Dorsey. Is it Ben Dorsey or Ben Neal? It's Ben Dorsey. This is nice. Spun this turntable. What's the difference between these two? Oh, there's one with the concrete apron and one without it. Got it. And this one has way more output tracks. Okay. So it's between these three. The concrete apron's really big, but... I get the Durango Roundhouse. Now that's a good one. And I think these are all in the DLS. CPR Roundhouse, Shama Roundhouse. Like the whole thing, please. Yeah. So it's gotta be one of these. At least I know I have plenty of them. 3 foot 6 inch. Oh, that's 3 foot 6 inch. How about this? Yeah, that's good. We'll use this. Absolutely. Now let's put down that short line roundhouse and do I have a 3-foot gauge turntable to pair with this, though? Skagway Roundhouse. Holy cow, that's a lot of engines. It's really nice, but boy, that's a lot of engines. I could always have no turntable. You know, that happens sometimes. There were these big roundhouses with no turntables. But this almost definitely would have one. So let's look up turntable. Oh, how the turntables. 120-foot turntable. An SW turntable. No, that only has one thing. SAP T-side turntable. No. Roundhouse kit turntable. This is a very nice turntable, and we probably cannot use it. T-side turntable. Turntable A-frame. Turntable this. Which this is standard gauge, as we already checked before. Turntable stub track. Oh, it's an object. I get it. I need a 3-foot gauge turntable to go with this, or else I'm going to be in trouble. So, that is something to work on / worry about. Because if we don't have a turntable, I don't think we're going to use this. I mean, I did say that, you know, there might not be, or, there are ones without a turntable, but I don't think I would put one here without a turntable. And this area really is a good spot for that kind of thing. Although I like this engine shed, but especially for the AI, it's going to be really challenging to run with more than 3 engines, and 3 engines will not cut it for this. And I'm only realizing that now. I put down this engine now, so it's like, oh, look how cute this is. But it's not going to fly. You know, I can use this as like a coach shop or an engine or a car shop or something. But we're going to need a roundhouse. And I want you guys to pick which one, and let me know if you know of any 3-foot gauge turntables that exist. Meanwhile, we actually did a fair good amount today. Okay, you know what we need to do, though? We need to get some pillars in here. So let's find some bridge pillars. Real quick. Let's spell pillar correctly and maybe we'll find one. Not a caterpillar. No. Concrete pillar. Footbridge pillar. How about just bridge? Because I know we have some. There are ones that are in my head right now that would work. Oh, this is going to get crazy because we have all these bridges actually downloaded. Oh god, all these lift bridges. Nope. I need like a bridge pillar. There we go. One of these. Little big. Little big. But this is the one that I was thinking of. I thought it was smaller. Do we have another one? Because the other ones are even bigger. The other pillars. Come on, show me something. Not all the clinch field bridges. Or those. Bridge supports. Did I just... Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, that's bigger than what I need. Bridge pier, 65 foot. Bridge pier, 25 foot. I mean, two of these together might do it. If you line them up right. I think they can do it. I think they can. I think they can. No, not the bridge. Not the bridge. Just the pillar. Not the bridge. And hopefully that doesn't look too weird. It actually doesn't look half bad. But they aren't centered, so that's not good. Come on! Nope. What does this even do? Alright, come on, move that. Move all this crap back. Maybe I could just slide the bridge out of the way and then put it back later. But the other issue is this wooden part. Because that doesn't work either. If I can get like real close to these, you think I can grab them? Like get inside them? But what is inside them that isn't also inside the... Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. No, let's just get rid of these for now. So anything else? Anything else? Is that also really big? I guess we don't have much else in the way of pillars. So, these might be it. These are just successively longer, yeah. Well, I'll put this here as a reminder that we can use these. But getting it to look good is going to be an adventure, as it were. Anyway, Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to put the short line roundhouse down here, again, just to remind myself again. Because this is the roundhouse that I want here. But honestly, I should get one of the other ones. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. Trainman out.